You are now listening to The Box Out with Kahlil Thomas and Jason Kahlil on the One Podcast Network. Let's get it.
From NJ to BK and the world, it's The Box Out here on the One Podcast Network. My name is Kahlil Thomas. Joining me just a few minutes with Jason Kahlil from Brooklyn, New York. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We've been off for about a month, actually. We took some time off, recharge our batteries, get it together, if you will. But we're back, and real quick, this is the schedule for us, at least, going forward. Armchairing with Bruce Morrow still going to be on Wednesday nights. We're going to take Sundays this week, tonight, and then next Sunday we'll be on as well. We'll be back to our normal day and time, Thursday night, 8 p.m. in 3 weeks, 2 weeks, give or take. So that's the schedule going forward for us. Now we're back Sunday, and then back to Thursday. I believe that's January 30th. I'm probably wrong on the date because I'm terrible with dates, but that's the schedule going forward. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for giving us your Sunday night. And we've been off a month. A lot has happened. A lot has gone down since we've been gone. And, to try to run through everything that's happened since we took that time off it will be crazy. We'll be here till like midnight doing the show. So the best way I thought of doing it was looking at the bigger stories of the last month. And I want to start, honestly, with the Western Conference, because you look at the Western Conference as it stands right now, we're almost at the midway point of the regular season. And, obviously OKC, they're the best team in the conference, 6 games ahead of Houston. And OKC beat the Knicks by a lot and has a Knicks fan and has, an observer. Knicks right there behind me, that way, right. That was a landmark game for the Knicks, because if they could compete with OKC, and not compete, if they could beat OKC, that would have been a game that Knicks fans and analysts could be like, okay, the Knicks are here, they're ready. Because OKC has shown this season that, I believe, there's a couple hiccups throughout the season, that they are top 3 in the NBA right now. So that's kind of the gold standard right now in the NBA. And I know I'm saying a lot about Oklahoma City right now, but I think Oklahoma City Thunder are the gold standard of the NBA. I'm honestly starting to think about them winning the championship because of what they have. And you think about it, they don't have their full complement of players back yet. And that's the scary part about OKC. They don't have who they want back yet. So I think as the season progresses, I think they had their experience last year in the playoffs, and I think they have that hunger. They said, okay, we got in. This young group that, Sam Presti was building and developing and just hoarding draft picks and drafting well, right? Sam Presti really has not swung and missed on. I can't even think of a draft pick he's really swung and missed on in the last couple of years. They all kind of had a role. If not, he's traded for assets, but he really has not swung and missed on anything yet. The curious thing is going to be, this young team with no veterans. I think that's always the question with teams that are young. Can they sustain without a veteran presence, right? SGA is the unquestioned leader of the Oklahoma City Thunder. We know this as well. Can he hold on to that role? Can he handle that role? It's a lot to deal with. So OKC right now, number 1 in the Western Conference. If you look at the rest of the West, and it's very interesting to me how it's running, because you have from the 5th spot to the 12th spot in the standings in the Western Conference, there's only a 3-game difference. So you go Dallas, Lakers, that's your 5-6. In the play-in spots, so the Clippers, the Timberwolves, the Kings, which we'll get to later, and the Warriors are at 10, which is the last play-in spot. Further down, you have the Suns and the Spurs 11-12. Phoenix has its tiebreaker, so they're 11. San Antonio's 12. From the Spurs up to the Mavericks, there's a 3-game difference. So that tells me that a good team is not going to make it into the Western Conference playoffs. Not in the playoffs, not into the play-in, right? Of these teams, 2 of these teams are not making it to the play-in to get into the playoffs, which once again tells you that the Western Conference continues to be the class of the NBA. The Eastern Conference has gotten better. I feel like we're starting to see different teams in the Eastern Conference kind of make a move and, developing, and, the Detroit Pistons is, starting to kind of percolate a little bit. Orlando Magic, that zombie team that's just kind of floating around with no one's healthy. They're still hanging around. So while the East, they are improving, I will give them that. The Western Conference, you literally have 12 teams fighting for 10 spots. And besides Portland, Utah, I'm not going to mention New Orleans because New Orleans is god-awful. Like, you have 12 teams fighting 10 playoff spots. And every night, it's a back and forth. San Antonio look great with Wemby. Wemby on Christmas Day, as a Knicks fan, scared the shit out of me. But Knicks pulled it out. But Wemby on Christmas Day was awesome. Phoenix, 18-19, but they still have Kevin Durant. They still have Devin Booker. They still have Bradley Beal. Right? You have to keep that in mind with them, too. They still have 3 bona fide stars on their team. Budenholzer's their coach, so take that for what you will. Don't know what they're going to do. Probably going to continue to underachieve. Golden State is Golden State. Golden State, you're going to see Steph rest. Draymond's going to have to rest. Can Kuminga pick it up? Can Andrew Wiggins become Andrew Wiggins from the NBA Finals against the Boston Celtics? Because we have not seen that Andrew Wiggins since then. Can he pick it up, become that player that we thought he would become after that series, that he has not become after that series? Sacramento fired their coach. Doug Christie, formerly of Basketball Wives, he's their coach. Can they sustain 7-3 over the last 10 games? Can they sustain this? The Clippers is doing all this without Kawhi Leonard and James Harden taking the bulk of the shots. You're seeing James Harden turn to James Harden from Houston. Not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm still trying to figure out, like, do we want this James Harden? Now Kawhi came back. He took some time off based on the wildfires going in L.A., checking his family. And obviously our hearts go out to the victims of the fires in L.A. and what's going on out there, because it is craziness out there right now. So our thoughts are definitely with them. But you look at the Clippers, and besides James Harden and Kawhi Leonard when he returns, what do they have? Right now they're 7th. Can they sustain it? I don't know. I doubt it, but I don't think so. The Timberwolves are a enigma wrapped in a question mark. No one knows what Timberwolves team's going to show up from night to night. Anthony Edwards does his job. Ant-Man does what he has to do on a nightly basis, no matter what. It's the rest of the team that is the issue. It's Julius Randle. It's Rudy Gobert. It's McDaniels. It's a lot of moving parts on that team. And honestly, Edwards is doing his best to kind of keep it together, but he needs help. Dante DiVincenzo, he's starting to kind of pick up the pace a little bit. He's over leaving New York, which I think really, 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 really hurt him. I think he really wanted to stay with the Knicks, stay with his Villanova brothers, but obviously he was in a trade to get Cat to New York. So he was definitely salty about that for the first quarter of the season. I think he's starting to kind of pick up his play a little bit. So you get consistent play with DiVincenzo. Obviously, you can get what you get from Anthony Edwards. Julius Randle's Julius Randle. You don't know what the hell you're going to get from him night in, night out. Julius Randle could score 35 and then score 20 on 5 of 25 shooting with 6 turnovers and 2 arguments with the referee about a call that he didn't get. That's Julius Randle in a nutshell. You don't know what Julius Randle you're going to get. I think that's going to be a problem for them, because for Ant, he needs a second option. Cat was the second option with Anthony Edwards last year. He needs a number 2. Randall should be the number 2, but Randall's so inconsistent, you don't know if he could be a true number 2. So it becomes, okay, Gobert's not a scorer. DiVincenzo really does better coming off the bench, but do you start him to give him more points, to give that team a little bit more? There's a lot of questions about rotations and kind of how to do this all together. And I think they're still trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work. So Minnesota in the 8th spot right now, I think it's going to fluctuate. I think they can get as high as 6. I think it can go as low as 12. You don't know night in, night out what you're going to get from them. The Lakers is playing LeBron James a lot. You're waiting for Anthony Davis injury of some sort. Can the supporting cast of the Lakers keep this going? That's the question. Can Austin Reeves keep this going? Can a Christie keep this going? They've leaned a lot on that supporting cast, and they have delivered. Christie, especially his last 10 games. Reeves had an awesome game Christmas night, hit the game-winning shot. The question becomes, obviously, LeBron's going to play his minutes. AD's played a lot of minutes. Can that supporting cast hold it together, knowing that they're going to be leaned on, especially down the stretch, to take some of that pressure off of AD, take some of that pressure off LeBron, and play some critical minutes? Can those guys be depended on late in the season, in the playoffs, last 4 minutes of the game? Because you know what you're going to get from LeBron James. You know what you're going to get from Anthony Davis. You need those other guys to kind of kick in. And that's all they got, because remember, with the Lakers, they traded D'Angelo Russell to the Nets. So they pick up Dorian Finney-Smith, which is a great addition. But Dorian Finney-Smith is not going to win you a championship. Money-wise, they don't have a lot to work with. I think getting Russell off the books helped them luxury tax-wise. I don't think they get any type of mid-level exceptions or trade exceptions. The money coming off of Russell really just helped them out with the luxury tax in their overall number. Because Russell's deal was actually a really good deal by NBA standards. But Dorian Finney-Smith is not moving the needle at any point that much. He's a good player off the bench, but that's about it. So you got to hope that he is that extra guy you can throw in there. He can hit the occasional 3. He can rebound. If you want to play Davis at the 5, Finney-Smith can play the 4. That's good, but they need more. And the question is, can they get more? I don't think they could based on their numbers. And I think that's going to be the problem. Dad, what's going on? We're back. What's going on? Thank you so much. Hi, how are you? So that leaves us with the Clippers. And the Clippers is the highest seeded team in that weird 5 through 12 thing we got going on in the Western Conference. The Mavericks 3-7 in their last 10 games. Luka Doncic is still out. I think he should be back next, in a couple weeks maybe. They've definitely struggled without him. Kyrie's getting a lot more of the on the ball work and doing a lot. And you know, it's gonna be interesting to see how the Mavericks proceed, especially if Luka's injury kind of keeps him out a little bit longer and keeps him hobbled a little bit longer. But I'm very, very, very curious to see what the Mavs do in the next about week or so before All-Star break and see if they can recover. Bruce Morrow, host of, I think so, I'm not really sure, Jason, fashionably late. That's what he does, fashionably late. Bruce Morrow, the host of Armchairing on Wednesdays, 8 p.m. here on the One Podcast Network YouTube channel. So we talked about Western Conference the first 15 minutes of the show. We talked about the East, and listen, the class of the East are the Cleveland Cavaliers. So now my nephew asked me the other day, did I think Cleveland's going to win a championship? And I said, I don't know. Very good question. I don't know. Because they won 12 in a row. Kenny Atkinson is coach of the year. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care I don't care who pops out. I don't care if Doug Christie goes undefeated with the Sacramento Kings for the rest of the season. Kenny Atkinson is your NBA coach of the year. Point blank, period. Fight me on that. It is what it is. 33-4 is ridiculous. All right. Can they keep this pace up? Absolutely not. Okay, this clip they're on right now is insane. They cannot keep this up. But can they win 60 games? Yes. Can they win 65 games? Possibly. So Cleveland is by far best team in the Eastern Conference. Although they have a better record than Oklahoma City, I think Oklahoma City is still the better team than Cleveland right now. You have Boston, the Knicks, Orlando, Milwaukee, Miami. That's your 2 through 6 in the Eastern Conference. The Knicks beat Milwaukee today. And by beat, I mean beat the brakes off them. The correct term is dog walked. The Milwaukee Bucks at the Garden today. 26-14 Knicks, 8.5 back of the Cavaliers. Listen, the Knicks are the Knicks. And I will tell this to anyone who listens to me about the Knicks. We have games like we have today against Milwaukee. Jalen Brunson, 44 points. And you have games against Phoenix, Orlando. Insert any other team that we should beat on a night-in, night-out basis. Kind of like what Julius Randle's game is. You don't know what you're going to get from the New York Knicks. 12 games above 500. I can't complain and bitch and moan right now as a Knicks fan. And I'm going to go full Knicks fan right now. And I'm okay with that because this is what it is. I cannot be mad at what they're doing right now. I can't. And I won't. I know there's some consternation about Tibbs' rotations again and about the amount of minutes guys are playing. And I've been a proponent of the fact that I'm not a fan of how Tibbs manages his teams. He runs guys to the ground, so by the time the playoffs come, they are shot. They are done. That is the problem with a Tibbs team. He gets very, very comfortable with his 9, and he runs those 9 as far as he can go. And it is what it is. And unfortunately, you have to take that with a Tom Thibodeau team. That is what is going to happen. So I personally have to stop talking about it. I have to stop bringing it up because it is giving me agita talking about Tom Thibodeau's rotations and how many minutes these guys are playing. Although I did see bench guys play when they were getting blown up the other night. So that made me feel good that he's got the message like, okay, we're not going to win this game. Let's get, Tyler Kolek in the game and sit Jalen down. But that's not the point. I want to go down to those play-in teams. Indiana, Detroit, Atlanta, Chicago. Detroit is a surprising team. Detroit, I'm not going to say Detroit is this year's Orlando Magic from last year. I'm not going to say all that because Orlando is a lot better than Detroit is right now. But Detroit needed a coach. They had a coach, and I'm sorry, you had Monty Williams last year, who really didn't want the job. Let's keep it funky for a second. Monty Williams did not want the Detroit job. A lot of times you get offered a job that you don't want, but they back that truck up and say, "Hey, got a job for you." Oh yeah, I'm good. Oh no, we'll give you this money. Oh no, I'm good. How about this money? No. How about all this money? Okay, cool. And you take the money. All right. So you already have a coach who didn't want the job in the first place. With a very, very young team with a couple veterans sprinkled in, but for the most part, that team was hella young. With a roster of 10 centers, it seemed like they were just collecting centers like Pokemon last year for some reason. And this year, new coach, they kind of figured the roster out. Their players still a younger team, but I feel like the player they bought in worked better with this team and how it's set up. A game over 500 after I don't even know how to describe last year. That team last year, watching them play, especially there was a game, I'm trying to remember, it was against the Celtics. That's what it was. It was during the losing streak. And they had the Celtics down in the third quarter. And I was like, they're going to beat the Celtics. And then the Celtics came back and won the game. And I was like, damn, that sucked. That was them. That was them last year. This year, they're the team that you don't want to play because you know you get their best effort. And it's surprising because I didn't think they'll be this good where they are this quickly. Are they like, top 6? No. But I was not expecting them at this point, pretty much at the midpoint of the season, to be in that play-in spot. I thought they would be close to that 12 spot, but not actually in it. Sorry, close to that 10 spot, but not actually in the 10 spot. They're actually in the 8 spot. And they're a game from 6 and 5. If you're talking about Milwaukee and Miami, they're tied. So I'm very, very impressed with what Detroit is doing this year. Atlanta, Trae Young doing his thing. Trae Young's, being arrogant and cocky again. So we'll see what happens with that. Chicago's going to fall off. The team that you have to look out for is the Sixers, 15-21. They're kind of starting to get their footing a little bit. Embiid's getting his footing a little bit. Even at their lowest, you almost had to assume that they were going to make a run at some point and kind of keep it pushing. And you kind of see it now. A play-in is probably in the future. I feel like they had to dug themselves a really, 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 really big hole early. And to get out of that hole and get into the top 6 is probably not going to happen unless something crazy happens where they go on a crazy run or another team falls off, like a Chicago, like Atlanta, and they just kind of just leapfrog everybody. You would have to literally leapfrog 5 teams to get into that top 6. And because they started so badly, it's going to be tough for them to leapfrog. In other Sixer news, too, the team announced that they were not going to build the arena in downtown Center City, Philadelphia. That was kind of the plan seemed all right. There's a lot of pushback from residents in downtown Philadelphia, especially in that Chinatown area where they wanted to go. So they said they're not even going to try to build an arena there. They're trying to figure something else out. Them moving to New Jersey is probably not going to happen. I'm sorry. Camden, New Jersey is not the place to put an NBA team. Camden, New Jersey is not a place to put a Wawa, let alone an NBA arena. So let's keep the Sixers out of Camden and just kind of keep them in Philly. They got a good spot. Where the arena is in Philadelphia is in the perfect place. There's nothing around it. Literally, it's a parking lot. It is Wells Fargo Center. It is Lincoln Financial Field, and it is that bandbox Citizens Bank Park for the Phillies. So where they're located now is the perfect place where they should be. I know you're in a new building. Build it where you are. You are literally in a parking lot. The Mets did it. The Mets built Citi Field right next to Shea Stadium. Just do the same thing. Not that difficult. No, just keep it simple. Anyway, so that's the standings as is. That's what we've kind of missed for the last month we've been off. The big story we missed was Jimmy Butler and Miami Heat. We'll get to that in 30 seconds. I'm going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. We'll talk a little Jimmy Butler and whatever the hell is happening in Miami. We'll be back 30 seconds. And we are back here on the Box Out. Kahlil Thomas flying solo tonight. The big news while we were gone was Jimmy Butler, the Miami Heat. And, Jimmy Butler wants to get paid. Jimmy Butler knows that the upcoming contract is probably going to be his last big contract in the NBA. And he has an option year coming up next season, but he wants to get an extension now. He wants to bank. He wants to get that bank, get that bag. Keep it moving. Miami and Pat Riley, Pat Riley is a lot like the Tampa Bay Rays in baseball. Tampa Bay, they're really good at cycling players in and out. and realizing that, okay, this guy might be done, or this guy might have, plateaued. Let's trade him while he's still kind of high up, not completely downturn yet, but he's still kind of there, because we know that he's going to go over that cliff sooner than later, and we'll get a bunch back for him. Pat Riley's good at that too. Pat Riley realized that, okay, you know what? Dwayne Wade, who was Mr. Miami Heat, was on the downturn, and Pat Riley said, you know what? Let's get rid of Dwayne. And he did. So Pat Riley realizes, probably better than anybody in the NBA, like he knows how to cycle guys. Dwayne Wade, Alonzo Mourning, Shaq, insert any other Miami player who's been shipped out of Miami, whether to trade, whether to Pat Riley not re-signing him. He knows that, you know what, we're done here. And I think he feels the same way about Jimmy Butler. Now, the rumor came out over Christmas that Jimmy Butler wanted to be traded. He wasn't happy, blah, blah, blah. Which you kind of saw, right? There was a lot of talk about Karl-Anthony Towns being one of the most unhappy players in the NBA. Jimmy Butler took that mantle. Jimmy Butler just did not look interested when he played. He was hurt. Really didn't give a shit. Pat Riley comes out like a boss and says, we're not trading Jimmy Butler. We're not trading him. No, it's not happening, so don't ask. Jimmy Butler comes out post-game and pretty much says that I'm going to be happy. I'm not going to be happy in Miami. I'm not happy here. That's what he said. I'm not happy in this situation. I don't give a shit about the situation. I want to leave the situation. I'm going to be traded. And then, damn it, the Heat suspended him for 7 games for conduct detrimental. So you have an unhappy player on a team with a boss president who's like, you can play, you can try me if you want to. I don't give a shit. I got you. And the teams that reportedly want him can't really get him because of salary cap issues and luxury tax issues. So we're looking at a situation where he might be stuck in Miami for the year. And he's not taking an option, although it's a player option. And for the most part, most players take their player option to stay. I got to look at the numbers exactly what the option is, but it's not a cheap option, like at all. So I'm curious to see what he does going forward, but he does not want to be there. Jimmy knows Riley, and he knew he wasn't in the plans. He definitely knew he was in the plans. He for sure knew he wasn't in the plans and wants to get out. But also Miami's like, listen, we know for a fact we can't just get rid of you and get something back that's of tangible value. There was a mock trade between Miami and Golden State. If Golden State traded for Jimmy Butler, because that's one of the rumors is Golden State really wants Jimmy Butler, which I think would be a great addition to that team. They need someone to get Jimmy Butler. In order to get Jimmy Butler, Golden State would have to trade probably half the roster to get Jimmy Butler to match the money that would have to go. So Miami get rid of Jimmy Butler and a couple of other players. Golden State will get rid of everybody they have to get Jimmy Butler, which will deplete the team. Call it a Carmelo Anthony to the Knicks trade. Right? Think about when Carmelo Anthony was traded to the Knicks and Donnie Walsh had the deal kind of already done. And James Dolan came in over the top and pretty much gave Denver every player the Knicks had for Carmelo Anthony and like one other guy. And so we got Carmelo, but we lost everybody else. I think that was the problem. I think that's the issue with trading for Jimmy Butler right now for Golden State, if Golden State's really interested, because you're not going to have anything left. And you're going to be stuck with Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, and Steph Curry. Jimmy Butler's option for next year is for $52.4 million. So I'm of the mind he'll take that option because you're not going to turn down $52.4 million just for the hell of it. But we'll see what happens. Bruce, Butler is a diva, and Riley disrespected the player publicly. I agree with that. I'm not arguing that. Butler is toxic. Listen, Jimmy Butler has a reputation. he left Chicago. When they get paid in Chicago, they get paid in Chicago. With the Minnesota, blew that up. With the Philly really should have kept Jimmy Butler. I think Philly kind of went in a different direction, but I think he should have stayed with the Sixers. Right, and all things considered, he really should have stayed with the Sixers. He went to Miami. Heat culture. We hear it all the time. We see it on the courts. Heat culture is a thing. He fit into heat culture, but he's an aging star. The team belongs to Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo. It's their team now. So I think at this point, Riley's like, we're gonna build around Bam and build around Tyler, and we'll kind of work around there. Jaime Jaquez has kind of slid right into the Jimmy Butler role. Is he as good as Jimmy Butler? No, but Jaime Jaquez is a good basketball player. So I could see Riley going with, we got Tyler Hero, we got Bam Adebayo, and we got Jaime Jaquez. Let's build. Let's see what we got. And free up that money. So the only way Jimmy Butler gets traded is if someone gives Pat an offer that makes sense for Miami Heat and Pat Riley. In the meantime, Jimmy comes back from suspension. He's stuck. He has to play for Miami. He can't just sit out and stay home. He has to play ball. I think that's going to be the thing now. It's like, can he just suck it up and play? I think he could, because you're auditioning. Trade deadline's in less than a month. You come back, you audition. Can you try and get out of there, and you want to show other teams that I'm not a problem, I'm not a diva, I'm not toxic, I'm not a douchebag, and see who trades for you from that point on. But it should be very interesting to see what happens. Also, while we were gone, the Kings continue to be the Kings. Kings are the Kings. Listen, Kings are the King. Mike Brown, who brought Sacramento to the playoffs for the first time since I was in high school, got fired from Sacramento. It was a slow start. He might have he might have subconsciously called out De'Aaron Fox. He gets fired. Doug Christie, Sacramento legend. Also Basketball Wives legend. Let's keep that in mind. Doug Christie, his wife was on Basketball Wives, so he was on Basketball Wives also. He is the interim head coach. He's probably gonna be a full-time head coach because they're 7-3 in their last 10 games. Ownership loves Doug Christie. And I think this move was done to move Christie in to that head coaching spot. A lot was said about the move. A lot was just Mike Malone, who used to coach Sacramento, now coaches Denver, just pretty much flat out said Sacramento has no balls. How they fired him, exactly how he got fired. And, years ago, I did a story when the Maloof brothers owned Sacramento. And they were trying to sell the team to a group in Seattle who just lost their team to OKC. So there's this whole long story about teams moving, and I interviewed, Sacramento people, and I interviewed Kevin Johnson, former NBA player who was the mayor of Sacramento at the time, interviewed people in Seattle. And there was a real possibility that Sacramento was going to leave and go to Seattle. And then Vivek Randavi, I think, came in and took over the team or ownership. He's not the sole owner, which I kind of had to figure out because he was the only name kind of mentioned with ownership. But there's also 25 other people who own parts of the team. He's just the main governor of the team. Since he brought the team, he's been a shitty owner. Think about one of the first moves he did when he owned the team was he hired Vlade Divac as general manager. Now, Vlade Divac, Sacramento legend, didn't know what he was doing. Had no idea. No clue. Not one. That team stunk for years in a brand new building that Sacramento put money up for to help build. They sucked. You get De'Aaron Fox, you build around him, you get a good coach in Mike Brown. Mike Brown is not a great coach by any stretch of the imagination. He is not a great coach. He's a good coach. Is he going to take your team to the playoffs? Yes. Is Mike Brown going to win a championship for you? Probably not. So you brought him in. He does the job, gets them to the playoffs. Sacramento becomes national. They finally lived up to my expectations. I feel like I picked Sacramento. Every year we've done this podcast, Jason and I've always said every beginning of the season, my team look out for a Sacramento every year, and every year they disappoint me. They finally got me up like, oh shit, they actually listened to me. A little bit of a bump this year, little bump. They fire Mike Brown to bring in Doug Christie, who ownership loves. Like, what do teams look for? Like, what are we trying to do here? What's the idea here? Bruce, now they're playing Harvard Christie using the same breath. They are, but apparently their pacing's gone up. Their pace went from I think 27th to 19th since Doug Christie came in coaching. So they're playing at a faster rate and they're winning games. Mike Brown is the defensive coach, so I think his focus was the defense, and they still weren't great on defense. But I think that kind of goes with Mike Brown's style. Let's bring the ball up. Let's not move fast. Let's run some set plays and play tough defense. Christie's like, just go. And you're playing for right now, you're playing for a substitute teacher. Like, you're going to do what you want to do with the substitute teacher. Let's run. Okay, you want to run? Okay, let's run. All right. Now, when he becomes the head coach, which he probably will, let's be honest, because ownership is a big fan of Doug Christie, we'll see how he goes next year when it's his team is for a whole year and blase. But it's a sub right now, so they're gonna do well. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens. It's an easy coaching job. Sacramento's a nice collection of solid veterans. They do. I blame ownership on this one. I'm not blaming Mike Brown. Mike Brown did the best he could, what he had. I think De'Aaron Fox, I think picking up Sabonis last year was a coup. And it was a good move for them to pick up. You got a center to go with De'Aaron Fox. I just think once again, if you have really bad ownership, the team will suffer. And I think Vivek has shown that he cannot be a good owner. Because now he and the current GM said it was his decision. Vivek had nothing to do with the idea. I call BS on that. I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there. That's all. Elder News, Unrivaled, the 3-on-3 Women's League. That starts this week, actually. I think the 17th, I think it starts. Bruce talked about it in his show, Armchair, Wednesdays, 8 p.m. here on the One Podcast Network. Listen, I'm looking forward to this. One, I think 3-on-3 basketball is fun. I watched it during the Olympics when, America sucked at it. I think it's going to be really good for them. There's money behind it. There's sponsorship. They got a good TV deal with Warner Brothers Discovery. I really do think this could be a start of something really cool for the ladies. And I think they needed something like this. And I think this could be something, especially in that little hot pocket of January, February, March. January, February, I think especially more so February, when NFL's over and the NBA is kind of in that lull between All-Star break to the end of the regular season. Baseball hasn't ramped up at all yet. I think pitchers and catchers might report in mid-February. So I think they're doing this at the right point where you hit the February lull of sports where people are like, oh, Unrivaled's on. Let's watch that. And you get those viewers that way. I think it's going to be very successful. I think them doing it just for a couple months work. One spot, one place. They're all there now training together. And it's going to be interesting to see what the ratings look like. Right? And we talk about ratings. It's interesting because women's basketball's ratings have been going up for years. It's interesting to see how much more it goes up in this 3-on-3. Very exciting full court 3-on-3, which is really interesting to me because 3-on-3 full court just seems like up and down. I'm hyped about this league. I don't know why I'm so excited about it, but I'm just hyped about this whole thing and happy it got started. I'm happy that they went out and said, let's do something. We're all off, right? Let's make some more money. And not only that, it opens up more opportunities for these women to not have to go play overseas. Yes, the money's over there, but if you can make an extra $250,000 right now on top of the salary you get in WNBA, maybe you don't have to go play in Russia or in Italy or Australia or Germany, wherever you play. Maybe you just stay home. Maybe you stay in the United States and do what a lot of other players are doing now. They're getting like coaching jobs at college. They're getting internships. They're getting video coordinator jobs. Like they're doing other stuff during the off season that can make them some money and keep them here, which I think is very interesting and very beneficial to them. So I'm very excited about Unrivaled. It starts on the 17th. TNT, TBS, and Max. Don't forget HBO or Max, not HBO Max. I don't want to piss somebody off with HBO Max. I got to talk about Cooper Flagg. And about a month and a half ago on this podcast, I told Jason that I was not sold on Cooper Flagg at all. I haven't seen enough. I don't know if he's that consensus number one draft pick. I said, could he be? Yes, but I haven't seen it. I need to see more. He's going against Elon and the Citadel, and I'm like, and he wasn't really dominating those teams. I'm like, so he's not dominating like the Citadel. And I'm like, I'm not impressed. Bruce said it. I'm not impressed. I wasn't impressed. I don't see it. I don't know. Yeah. Bruce just said, meh. I was like, meh, I don't know. I've seen Cooper Flagg play 2 games in the last week. He dropped 42 the other night, and he dunked on someone. I was wrong. This is my mea culpa. I was wrong. I was out of my realm. And is there an apology song I can play real quick? Let's see this. This is my mea culpa. This is on me. I should not have shit on Cooper Flagg. My apologies to Cooper. Cooper, you're the dude. You are the consensus number 1 overall draft pick. This is not the song I thought it was. It's really picked up the pace real quick. Not expecting Daydreaming to be like club song anyway. But they're in ACC play now, so they're playing actual competition, and he's come to play. Cooper Flagg is number 1. Dylan Harper, who plays for Rutgers, I thought would be the only other player who could actually be in the conversation. And I haven't seen what people said about Dylan Harper. I saw him play against Princeton a couple weeks ago, Prudential Center here in New Jersey. 18 points first half, disappeared second half. Rutgers lost to Princeton. So I'm of the mind that Dylan Harper shouldn't even leave after this year. I think Dylan Harper should stay at Rutgers another year. I don't think he's ready. Good shooter. He has size. Plays hard. His outside shooting is still a little sketchy. And he just Cooper Flagg has taken 2 games over that I've watched this week. I have not seen Dylan Harper take over a game in his whole time at Rutgers so far this year. And I think that's the difference. I think that's the difference between you see number 1 picks. For the most part, we're not going to talk about the draft from this past year because that shit sucked. However, most of the time, your number 1 picks, you want them to be guys that can come in and just take it. I got it. Give me. Who want that in college? NBA, you might not do that. But in college, you're like, give me that rock. I got this. I don't see that in Dylan Harper. I see that in Cooper Flagg. And I think that was the one thing that I was waiting to see that I'm starting to see now. I think Cooper is deferring a lot to his teammates early on. I think now he's like, nah, it's mine. I'll take that. And he's doing that. So Cooper Flagg, I apologize. It's on me. I take the hit. You are the number 1 pick in the draft. God bless you, son. God bless you. I do know Dylan Harper is leaving. I think the NIL he got from Rutgers was substantial. It was substantial. But listen, sometimes it's not. I know you want to run to the NBA, but sometimes it's cool just to stay. It's cool just to, stay and get your game up and not just run to the NBA. I was watching something on the Atlantic 10 today. That's the conference with, St. Joe's and Temple. They're not in there anymore. But back in the day, it was St. Joe's, Temple, Xavier, UMass. So, John Chaney and an early douchey John Calipari and Skip Prosser and Jameer Nelson played in that conference, and David West played for Xavier in the 8-10. And I don't know who, it might have been David West, who said that guys aren't staying in college long enough to learn not just basketball skill, but life skill. He talked about how his coach, Skip Prosser, would literally, in the gym before practice, have 12 chairs set up like a classroom, the blackboard, take an article from the newspaper that day and discuss it and turn it into a basketball lesson, which in turn turns into a life lesson. All right. That was when guys were staying in college for 4 years and getting those lessons for 4 years. Right. So you see these well-adjusted men now who are like coaching, who was in college for 3-4 years, who had relationships with their coaches for 3-4 years, who learned how to be an adult in those 3 or 4 years in college. You don't have that anymore. You might be in 5 different colleges in 6 years because the coach yelled at you. Coach yelled at me. I want to go transfer, and you go to portal. Oh, the NIL's not enough, but that school's offering me more NIL money. I'm going to go. You're not seeing today what I grew up watching as a kid. I got to know Christian Laettner. I got to know the Fab Five. They were there for 3 years. I got to know players in college because they were there for 3 or 4 years, mostly 3. A lot of them graduated after 3. It was weird back in the day. Back in the day, a lot of guys like Jay Williams graduated after 3 years, which is kind of cool. But in college, you got to know these guys. I literally got to hate Christian Laettner with a passion growing up because he was there for 4 years. So I had 4 years of hatred for Duke and Christian Laettner. You don't get that kind of hate because no one's there for 4 years. Or no one's at the same school for 4 years. So I think that's what's missing from college basketball. College football, you have to stay for 3 at least. And at that point, you stay for 3. You might as well stay for 4. Why not? But basketball, you're there for a year. You might go to the draft. You might transfer because you hate the school. Or the coach left, you follow the coach. Or you transfer because you're not getting to play in time you thought. Whatever the case may be. So it's just a different world now. So back to my original point I was making. Cooper Flagg, number 1 pick. Dylan Harper needs to stay in school. Ace Bailey, also highly recruited player at Rutgers. He definitely needs to stay in school way more than Dylan Harper. So 2 cents. Cooper, I apologize. I'll put this on Twitter and tag him and say, my bad. You're a good guy. Good shit. So that is the box out. Oh, wait, hold on. Last comment before I got there. Back then, you knew college players. You did. You knew you had 4 years of watching a guy in college. And you're like, oh, that guy's really good because he went to NCAA's tournaments like 4 times, 4 years. Great, blah, blah, blah. Now it's like you're watching players and like, wait, wasn't he in Kentucky last year? Yeah. He moved to St. Mary's. Like, what? And then some of the moves make no sense, which that's a whole nother conversation. But besides that point. So that's the box up for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. We should be back on Spotify within the next couple of weeks. I'm going to do the both thing. I'm going to have us both on YouTube and on Spotify. So you get the video here. You get the audio there. The box set will be back next Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, here on the One Podcast Network. Also, do not forget, we have another show called Armchairing with Bruce Morrow. Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. right here on the One Podcast Network. We're doing everything and everything. If you want to check us out, if you're brand new here at the One Podcast Network on YouTube, that's us right here. But for Jason Courtner, I'm Kahlil Thomas. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you Wednesday for Armchairing, and then next Sunday for the box out here on the One Podcast Network. Peace.
This has been The Box Out with Kahlil Thomas and Jason Courtner. Subscribe now for the best tri-state area basketball talk.